The only time you get better at anything is while you sleep.
Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi, best-selling author and currently ranked as one of the world's top 10 thought leaders in organizational culture and leadership. And today we have an extraordinarily special guest. We have Dr. Kirk Parsley, America's #1 sleep expert, ex-Navy SEAL, and all-around cool guy. And he is going to be telling us about the neuroscience of sleep and how it's affecting your performance, your skill, and, well, basically everything about your life that gets better. So, Kirk, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am awesome. So you were saying that, like, wow, you know, nothing gets better until you sleep. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, most people know that during exercise, as a simple example, when you exercise your muscles, they actually break down. The whole point of exercising, the reason you feel that flush of lactic acid is because you're damaging those tissues. You're breaking them apart in hopes that those will grow back together stronger. And if you're a bodybuilder, you would hope that they grow back thicker and bigger as well, but not necessarily. They don't always grow back thicker and bigger. And you could be an endurance athlete, and you would want them to become more resilient and better able to run longer distances or bike or whatever you do. And most people, I think, know that you don't actually get stronger while you're lifting weights. You get stronger while you're sleeping. While you're sleeping, your body's repairing all of that damage that you did, and it's making those muscles better and stronger and more able to handle what you did today. It's going to be more prepared to do that same thing tomorrow. And after a series of tomorrows, you actually get better at something. The same is true for your memory. The same is true for connecting the dots of new information with old information. All of that happens while you're sleeping.
So what happens if you don't get enough sleep? Let's say, for example, instead of getting, I think you said that between 7 and 8 hours, or 7.5 hours, give or take a half an hour, is
right,
the ideal amount of sleep. What happens if you get less, like 6 hours?
Everything bad happens, and only about 60% of what good usually comes out of sleep will happen in missing those 2 hours of sleep. So if you're sleeping 6 hours a night, you just have to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to be 30 to 40% worse at everything that you do the next day. Whether it's something you value or not, you're just going to be worse. You're going to be weaker, you're going to be slower, your memory is going to be worse, your vocabulary is going to be worse, your confidence is going to be lower, your emotional stability, your ability to communicate, your ability to run your business or anything else.
So basically, if you don't get enough sleep, you're screwed.
You are.
All right. So
maybe that's why you're not getting enough sleep.
There you go. There you go. Now, what are some of the things that people can do in order to basically get better sleep?
Well, the first thing that I always tell people to do is to value sleep. It's a natural behavior. We don't have to learn how to sleep. We may have to unlearn how to not sleep, which is something that society beats into us, but it's a natural part of who we are. It's just like breathing in and out. It's moving, it's learning how to walk. Like, it's a natural thing built into our DNA that every one of our ancestors went to sleep about 3 hours after the sun went down, and they woke up right before the sun came up. And if you value sleep, you'll find it very easy to get back into that. If you don't value sleep, it's when it's really hard to get into that. If you think, well, I can cut a corner here, I can cut a corner here. If I told you the most important thing, and you believed me, how about this? If I said I'll give you $10 million if you sleep 8 hours a night for the next 30 nights, that's how you should approach sleep. You can find all the information you want on the interwebs.
There you go. Now, for example, let's say, because sometimes, people want higher performance, they want to start doing stuff and everything else, so they say, well, no, if I've got that extra hour of wake up time, so I'm just going to, stay up really late and work on stuff and everything, and then are they actually being more productive by by spending the extra hour awake and working instead of sleeping?
For the most part, no. If you measure the actual work. Now, there are some arguments to be made that if I get up early and I meditate and I have a morning routine, I'll be better than if I just jump out of bed and go. That's true. If you have to cut sleep out to do that, that's no longer true. So if you need to get up earlier, you just go to bed earlier. But the ritual of getting up early, starting your day in a great way is very helpful. But if you're depriving yourself of 1 hour sleep, you're going to lose an hour and 15 minutes of productivity over your day. 2 hours is 2.5 hours of productivity. 3 hours is 3 hours and 45 minutes. So it's additive, it's cumulative. It's always a negative sum game. You're not going to get more done in a day, the whole day combined. You're not going to get more work done during the day,
because your brain is basically less effective. You said it's like being drunk.
It is like being drunk. It's been compared to being drunk so many times, and they've done it with driving tests, they've done it with skills tests, actually field sobriety tests that the police do. They do this on sleep deprived people, and they fail just like drunk people do. And it's very well correlated. You can look it up on the internet. Like there's dozens, if not hundreds, of studies about, if you don't sleep this much, you perform as though you have a blood alcohol level of this. If you don't sleep this much, it's this and this and this, and it's pretty linear. I mean, it's pretty consistent. And if you sleep 6 hours a night for, I want to say, is somewhere around 16 to 18 days, but definitely we'll just say 3 weeks. So 6 hours a night, every night, or on average, for 3 weeks, you perform as though you have a blood alcohol level of 0.20, which most people can't stay conscious being that drunk.
Wow. So that means that the longer you go, just getting 6 hours of sleep instead of close to 8 hours, the more difficult it is to get back. You actually have to make up the sleep. Is that right?
Absolutely. You have to pay back what we call the sleep debt. It's just like credit card debt. It's insidious. You don't really notice it. You just throw the credit card down a few times. I'm just going to cheat myself a little. I'm going to cheat myself a little. By the end of the month, you're looking and going, Jesus Christ, how did I spend $23,000 on my credit card? And now I've got to pay all this off. And if you pay it down with the minimums, it takes a long time. And there's a big price to paying down with the minimums. There's a huge financial price, and there's a huge emotional price to taking 20 years to pay off your needs for today, or your needs for 1 month. Sleep is exactly the same way. You cheat yourself a little bit, It's all additive, it's all cumulative. And just like credit card payments, we don't really know how long it's going to take you to pay off, because things are going to change. The only way to know that you've paid it off is if you can go to bed, have no alarm clock, and you end up sleeping 7 to 8 hours every night, waking up without an alarm clock, waking up feeling refreshed, then you're there.
Awesome, awesome. Now you were telling us a little bit about the different stages. There's 4 stages in sleep. And how does that work exactly? So you go to bed and, what's like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 until you wake up?
Well, the stages, they're kind of in flux in how they're named. But the point of them really is that we're looking for a culmination of a lot of information. So you have the respiratory rate, the heart rate variability, your heart rate, how much you're moving, and of course your brain waves are all measured, and what's the overarching theme of these brain waves in different regions of your brain. And that's how we stage sleep. And you combine that all into this really cool little kind of Grand Canyon, Wile E. Coyote kind of mountains is what it looks like. And stage 1 is when you're just sort of about to fall asleep, and you're still aware of your environment, but you're not really responding to your environment, and it kind of seems a little distant, but you're still aware that it's there. Stage 2 is actually transition asleep. You're not awake anymore. Your brain is not responding to your environment in any real way. Then stages 3 and 4 often combined together and called slow wave sleep or deep sleep. That's where the magic really happens at the beginning of the night. That's where your body starts repairing. Like all of your anabolic hormones, your testosterone, your growth hormone, are all secreted during these stages 3 and 4 of sleep. And if you don't do those things, you don't get the growth hormone, which means you're not very anabolic, which means taking small things and combining them into more complex, bigger things, or at least more complex things. And then after you spend some time down there, you transition back up through stage 2, and then you go up to REM sleep. And the really interesting thing is that as you go from stage 2 to REM sleep, you still have to go through stage 1.
Oh.
So when you go through stage 1, we know that's not really a sleep, right?
Right.
You have some awareness of your environment. So if you have any additional stress hormones, or if you have a loud environment, or if you have bright lights in there, when you come back through that stage 1 is when you'll wake up.
Got it.
And then you go through REM sleep. And at the beginning of the night, there's very little REM and mainly deep sleep. And by the morning, it's mainly REM and very little deep.
That's why you kind of remember these dreams.
Right, because the REM is where we believe most of the transactions in your brain are happening. So you're taking information that you learned today, you're getting rid of the superfluous stuff. If that changed any neurons in your brain, you're just going to kind of shave that off because we don't need that. And then anything that's really important, that you deem really important, or you have a huge emotional response to, you are going to coalesce that with other what we call durable tracks. So think of them as like freeways. They're like, these are like, taking a footpath and putting it onto the freeway. Like, this is something I need to access all the time. This is something very important. I want to connect it to this and that. The formation of durable memories is how we can actually then learn complex structures and combine those complex structures to other complex structures.
So we're talking long-term memory, basically, so
right.
that, like all the stuff, for example, if you're studying, okay, and you want to take a test, okay, you don't study right before the test. You study the night before, get a good sleep, and then you remember stuff better the next day. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and same thing with skills, right? I mean, you're practicing, any kind of sport or violin or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what you want to get better at. Anything that you're trying to get better at is a skill. It's a cognitive skill. It's a physical skill. Your body doesn't know the difference. There's no brain-body connection. The brain's part of the body. The body's part of the brain. Everything is connected. Everything matters. And learning a physical skill is neurological connection. I mean, that's neuromuscular. My muscles don't have to get better for me to learn how to juggle. My muscles have to get coordinated, which is coming from my brain, and that feedback is what's going to make me get better.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, Kurt, is there anything that you would want to tell the audience that they should do? I mean, of course, besides get lots of sleep.
What I would beg of the audience, and I say this in all of my lectures, is whether you believe anything I have to say or not, whether you value sleep at all or not, if you will dedicate yourself to this is not a long trial. You see a lot of 30-day trials on the internet. Like, do this for 30 days and tell me if I'm wrong. I say do this for 7 days, 1 week. Just make sleep your number one priority, which means you start your day with, this is when I'm going to sleep. This is how you schedule your day. This is when I'm sleeping. And then everything else fills in after that.
Got it.
If you do that for a week and you're chronically sleep deprived, I guarantee you will not recognize yourself at the end of the week. The world will be a shinier, happier place.
And that's also something you mentioned, that actually, what was it? Some of the studies show that if you don't get enough sleep, you're actually, what is it, like 70 or 80% less happy according to the statistics?
Yeah, rating of overall life satisfaction and joy decreases 80%.
80%! 80%! That means if you're not happy, it could mean that you're just not getting enough sleep.
It could very well mean
and that means if you just get a little bit of sleep, you'll see unicorns and sunbeams in your day and rainbows possibly.
Possibly.
And things will get better. Relationships will improve, right?
They do.
And wow, I mean, that is just a huge thing. Just that one thing. So, okay, get some sleep. And how, if somebody wants to contact you, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what do they look for? And I also know you got like this sleep stuff.
Magic sleep formulation.
Magic sleep formulation that is like this non-drug type stuff that includes all the things that your body needs in order to really, help you get deeper sleep.
Yeah, it's all the substrates that are involved in the normal pathways to getting your brain ready for sleep. And essentially all my product does is help you initiate sleep. It won't keep anyone asleep. It just our ancestors spent 3 to 3.5 hours after the sun went down getting ready for sleep. We don't spend that long getting ready for sleep anymore.
Got it.
So we try to condense that in 30 minutes by super concentrating everything that would have changed in those 3 hours. And you can find that on my website. My website is DOC. This is a Navy thing. Everybody in the medical field is called a doc. So Kirk Parsley, Parsley, just like the herb. DocParsley.com. My supplements on there, blogs are on there, access to my book, videos, you name it, podcasts, TED Talks, all that stuff's on there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kurt, for helping everybody to basically be happier, be more productive, be more efficient, and basically be better. Right? This is Arthur Carmazzi and
Kirk Parsley.
Wishing you great success.